All right, all of you freedom-loving boys and girls, whomever you are, wherever you are on this big, blue, awesome marble of a planet we call Earth, Mark, Centerline Systems. Welcome tonight to tonight's live stream, live from Duluth. It's Centerline Systems. I got to work on it. Fellas. Hey, we got a very special guest tonight. Gosh, I don't even really know. Well, matter of fact, I'll ask him when he's been on. So we've known each other on and off now for, I don't know, gosh, not very long after I left the agency and moved back here. We actually used to do some training with each other. He's out there. He's a kick-ass guy. I'll let him do his own background here. He's already in the ready room waiting, so I'll bring him on in a couple minutes. You know, the deal is always want, an opportunity for some people to catch up. So my little bit of housekeeping, I'm just going to get it out of the way right here at the beginning. So we did the charity auction on so we launched it last Thursday. Thank you so very much to everybody who participated. And even if you didn't participate, but you were there in spirit, definitely appreciate it. We met our goal. We sold all 50 tickets. I was just talking to Readiness Training Group. I was talking to Tom T-Mac just a little while ago. So we're going to do the drawing on Thursday. Those guys are going to, I don't think the bar thing is going to work out on their side. They're still looking into it, but they're going to be together. I've got all the orders right here. Don't want to show everybody's personal information, but and then they're just going to do a random number generator and and then I'll go through the numbers. But just so everybody knows, I'm going to read off your first name, last initial, and what your numbers are real quickly. This won't take but a second. And if you're not sure if this is you, just ping me. But if you bought a ticket, you know who you are. Frank C. He has tickets 1, 2, and 3. Mark V. Tickets 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are your numbers, right? For when we do the drawing. Michael D. 9, 10, and 11. I'm going to do this just change this. Give me a second here. Take that alligator clip off. That'll make it easier. There we go. Corey M. 12 and 13. Jacob R. Number 14. Gene H. Gene, I think everybody knows who that is. That's you. Woo! Gene, you are ticket number 15. 1-5 for you, Gene. Dave J. Number 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Anthony B. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Johnny W. And he might not see this. I might have to give him a call because I don't think he's really much on the social media. But Johnny, if you're there, Johnny W, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Brad B, number 31. Kelly S, you know who you are. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Eric F. F is in Foxtrot. 37, 38, 39, and 40. Matthew F. Number 41. Paul C. 42 and 43. Mike A. 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. And last but not least, John D. getting in under the wire. Last 2 tickets, number 49 and 50. All right, those are all the numbers. I might even just give everybody a phone call tomorrow just to make sure, because I know not everybody's going to see the live stream, whether it's now or on demand. But that's it. That's our set right there. Those are our contestants. Best of luck to everybody. And just one more time. So Jack from Black Scout Survival's kicking in one of the med pouches we make for him, but we'll make that to whatever color you want. It doesn't have to be, like a normal, black or whatever. If you want to kind of tweak it and make it custom like how we do it, we'll make you that. So Jack threw in a med pouch and North American Rescue medical insert. Some Vita custom knives, threw in that kick-ass Kestrel, and I've posted some pictures of that on Instagram. And then on our side, Centerline Systems, we're going to throw in one of the new rucks. Still not 100% sure what we're going to call that, EIB or CIB, or maybe somebody's going to win it by coming up with a better name than my stupid little knucklehead. All right, well, we went a little bit longer on the intro. Let me just get up on some comments, and then we'll bring in Dustin here. All right, we got Gene from across the pond. I thought this was funny. Woo, Sensei Mark, burrito on, burrito off, crane stance. All right, I don't know why, but that's funny. Stranger. Yeah, actually, hey, give me a second here. Oh, no, it's ground fog. Okay, Stranger, hi there. Hello, Brother 8. Well, I don't know if that's Crazy Eights. Are you a brother from Crazy Eights? Oh, I shouldn't have maybe said that out loud. Stranger, hello, brother. Big Visk, evening, everybody. Woo, Big Visk in the house. Snowshoe Dave in the house here. Checking in, glad to see everybody. Learn me something. It's showtime. Mike in the woods with a big woo. Gotta love that. And then, yeah, Big Visk confirming numbers 4 through 8. Wahoo. Yeah, now it's just a waiting game till Thursday. Get those guys from RTG on there. That's going to be, it'll be a shorter live stream, but we might just be having fun. I mean, I normally don't drink during the live streams. I mean, I got work to do. I got to go cut belts and stuff here afterwards and do shipping still. But yeah, but anyway, next Thursday, we're going to have a little fun with it because come on, it's a contest, right? So without further ado, I rambled too long. Somebody should have told me to shut up. Let's get Dustin on. Dustin, are you ready down there, sir? Thumbs up. All right, here we go. Let's bring onto the stage without, I wish I could do like, and in this corner, Dusty, like one of those, let's get ready to rumble. Dusty, thank you for coming on our live stream. If you don't mind, sir, tell everybody, say hi, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. And then as you're talking about yourself, I'm sure somebody's already asking, where in the hell is he located right now? Like, what the hell's going on,
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Mark. And I think we've been friends for what, coming up on a decade almost?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I mean, like when we were doing the stuff in the, yeah, and when we were doing it in the old shop, like, yeah, was that like 14 or 15?
I think somewhere around there.
Wow. Yeah. Time flies, man.
I know.
Jeez.
So, but yeah, I'm Dusty or Dustin, depending on if I'm in trouble or not. And I'm recently I'm owner and operator of GEAR Jiu-Jitsu out of Duluth, Minnesota. I've been teaching jiu-jitsu now for a few years and been doing the whole martial arts thing for coming up on 15. Mixing in some firearms training and going down that path. And that's mainly how you and I connected, Mark. Remember back in the day, I needed to recert my permit to carry, and I wanted to go through something a little more legitimate than most of the bottlenecks around here running those shows. And I came across your stuff. I think you had just started up your company. I somehow found you right away, and here we are, 10 years later.
Right on. Hey, you were breaking up just a little bit. Can you go back and just tell everybody again what dojo it is that you're operating out of, just in case somebody didn't catch that? It broke up just unfortunately at that moment when you were giving a shout out.
GEAR Jiu-Jitsu, which GEAR is the old Norse word. Basically means it's the highest compliment a Norse person or Viking could get, meaning that they were somebody who was willing to take on any battle, any opponent, regardless whether or not their skill set allowed them to have a victory. They just had that spirit of willingness to go out and fight. That's kind of the spirit we run our gym at.
Hey, so
Duluth, Minnesota.
Yeah, Duluth, Minnesota, GEAR Jiu-Jitsu. Hey, and I did not know that, and that's a great story because that story in of itself talks into resiliency and preparedness and mindset. Do you want to maybe take that as a initial kind of just as you maybe go through your path and what that means to you and why you're there in that dojo and why that title, would have some type of, I'd have pride in that right there. It's like, yeah, bring it on, I ain't giving up until I'm done, type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of always been just kind of the spirit I've always operated in, especially when it came to sports and athletics. I grew up playing a bunch of different sports. I was never really great at it, but I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I played soccer for a few years as a kid, played baseball through high school, snowboarded throughout high school into college, and then from college, I went and played college football at one of the local community colleges. That was getting the team going. Mind you, I didn't play at all in high school. I was asked by the head coach to come try out for the team. And I said, sure, why not? And ended up playing 2 years, became team captain the second year. And then after, or right as I was finishing up college, I had a buddy, roommate of mine, show me an old UFC video between, gosh, it was Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. And for whatever random reason, mind you, like I wasn't a kid that really thought a whole lot. I was homeschooled my whole life. I was a pretty good kid. And then for whatever reason, I saw that on TV and I was like, you know what? That looks like fun. He knew a little bit of jiu-jitsu. I remember him trying to show me what a triangle was. I couldn't do it for the life of me. Could not figure it out. My 8 brain would just not allow for it to work. But for some reason, I was like, I want to give that a try. I want to do one MMA fight just to say I did it. And so I ended up moving down this path of got connected with a guy who knew some boxing, did a couple months of basically boxing practice, nothing else really. Ended up setting up a fight out in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, a little over 15 years ago, and went out, did my first MMA fight, and what ended up turning from let's just do one MMA fight, turned into another, did 4 amateur fights back in the day, and then eventually I kind of fell in love with the whole grappling side of things because I didn't like getting punched in the face. It was not my forte. And I just ended up dropping MMA and just focusing in on jiu-jitsu as much as I could, which wasn't a ton earlier on between getting married and having kids and working a full-time job with weird hours. Fast forward 15 years, I went from training to actually a few years ago coaching at a gym to managing the gym to now owning it and rebranded it and trying to figure out this whole business side of things. That's my story in 30 seconds.
Well, that's a great story right there. And we got just 2 comments just to bring up. Tennessee was coming in kind of a little bit late saying, hiya, boys. And then Gene from across the pond. Gene is a guest and a customer, live stream over there in the UK. And he says, great website, Dusty. So he's giving you a big compliment on your website. So as we kind of start talking resiliency and you're talking, you're like, hey, I went from being a member to a manager to now running it and then rebranding it and trying to figure out. I mean, we didn't actually talk about how business and, you need that resiliency in there. Can you share some stories with everybody of just like the trials and tribulations? I mean, and what that's like and the level of, well, again, you've got to be resilient because you're going to get kicked in the jimmy a bunch of times if you're running a business. I mean, just right. I see you nodding your head. So I'm assuming I don't know if that's the case. And I don't wish that upon anybody, but that's what running a business is. So you want to kind of maybe use that as a nice segue into kind of how that helped you on your path and how you're better or how you are constantly trying to improve yourself and, and really grow your resiliency, make that resiliency just freaking, huge superpower.
Yeah. I think it really started probably almost a decade ago. In my mid-20s, I was pretty active. Like I say, it was just I just quit doing MMA, and was just focusing on the jiu-jitsu, wanted to compete with that, and gotten pretty big into lifting when it was a couple years into all that. I ended up running into a really bad back injury where I herniated my L4, L5 pretty substantially. And it was weird because I remember for a year I was while lifting and I kept having this little bit of back pain. Of course, you're 25 and you don't think anything of it. You think you just got to push through it and toughen it out. And it all came to head one day. I was at my last job and I was working on a response team because I worked for the state at a secure facility, and we ended up responding to an incident, came back, started writing up my report. We had to go to front to another incident. I remember standing up and it hit where it was just like, oh no, something's wrong. And I was hurting pretty bad. And then it was like a week later, I was felt like I'd gotten over it. And I was out squatting one day, and I went down, had that weird little feeling. Of course, again, being 25, you're like, whatever. And then the next rep, as I went down, as I started coming up, that's when it gave out completely and it dropped me. And I was out for a while. I was out for a good 2 weeks where all I could do was lay on my stomach. Could not really sleep. The pain was terrible. And I remember going in, getting looked at by the doctor, getting looked at by the chiro. And for a little while, I thought I was in a position where I was done athletically. I thought I was done lifting. I thought I was done doing jujitsu. And because all you ever hear is, you have a back injury like that, and you're done. That's all I've ever known. And for a little bit, kind of went through a moment of despair where, like, great, now what am I going to do? Thankfully, I got connected with some really good resources, namely through my chiro, who was great, who was an athlete, and helped address, okay, what happened here, and how can we fix it? And through his work, and then some online stuff through guys like Dr. Stuart McGill and Chris Duffin, came to learn that back injuries aren't completely debilitating, and that they can be solved quite often. And that's ultimately what ended up happening. And then through a lot of rehab over the next few years. But during that time of having to recover, like, I learned a lot about why I was injured, what was causing the injury, how to fix it, and then also how to come back stronger. Which that's in the end what ended up happening. To give you an example, I was trying to PR deadlift at that time. I think it was like 385 before my injury, or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but after my back injury, I didn't touch any weights for a good few months. And then when I got back into it, ended up starting off with kettlebells. Learned a lot about kettlebells and how to actually have some proper movement patterns, which was really the main cause, was bad movement patterns under load. And fixed my movement patterns. Only did kettlebells for a few months, and then I slowly one day decided, hey, let's touch a barbell. And I'm curious to see, okay, where am I, especially with the deadlift? And through everything I learned, fixing movement patterns, fixing my breathing, my bracing, my core issues, I ended up hitting a new PR on the deadlift, despite not having deadlifted for.
And if Dustin, if you don't mind, PR for personal record.
Yeah, personal record.
Yeah. Just in case people don't know what the heck you're talking about there, brother.
Yeah. And I was just blown away. And that whole process, like I said, it really taught me about the idea of being resilient. Because there was one point, like with my back injury, I finally was like, I couldn't do anything other than I knew I needed to move, and I wanted to move because laying on your stomach for 2 weeks gets you a little crazy. And I just started doing walking lunges around the track, doing quarter mile, half a mile at a time, and finding, hey, I can get a really bad leg burn without hurting my back. Okay, we're going to do this. This kind of sucks, but it's good stuff. And it gave me the ability to continue to get strong in ways that I could, despite the limitations. And just that mentality of learning that injuries aren't final. There's usually causes to them, and there's solutions to them. And then even when you're down, there's still things you can do. And that's kind of been one of the big things that I've just been trying to carry, especially throughout my jiu-jitsu career, especially as the older I get. The last few years, I've sustained a lot of different weird injuries. Torn PCL, torn LCL, and rather than being in the dumps about it, just learn how to train around it and look at it as a we like to call a God-given constraint, forcing me to develop skill elsewhere. But just that mindset of being resilient, just like the circumstances and doing what I can, where I can, when I can.
Hey, there's some comments that have come in, and I'm going to just read them real quickly, but it's going to come back to you because I can see, just based on the comments already, and then from my own personal experience with my back and then my hip, right? So, so just before we, well, I think it was maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, we were talking. We kind of had this scheduled a couple weeks ago, and then it didn't work out, just because it's life, right? Shit happens, and we rescheduled for here today, but we were just talking. And I made a joke to Dustin. So, right. So again, way back in the day, we actually did some more handgun hands, not necessarily grappling and striking, but a combination of that. But, but from a focus on personal defense with a concealed weapon, concealed carry, because, going to gun isn't necessarily your first option. And maybe it shouldn't be from either your own personal safety, legal aspects, there's, without getting into all that. So we were working through a wide variety of different stuff in training. And then soon thereafter, that's where all my life started catching up to me. And I really wish we would have stayed in a little bit more contact, because you could have helped me overcome that, because, I think I'd put myself into that box. I'm like, my back is out. And it really was. I mean, it like, we as men, and especially like, in the military or in any of these type of like, combat skills, like, what you're doing, we have this stupid tendency to push it too far, ignore our own pain, think we're immortal, invincible, and then giving our friends shit. Like I just remember like, oh, suck it up, Buttercup. And then when it happened to me, there was no sucking it up, Buttercup. I mean, there was like, no, but that doesn't mean I couldn't have worked through it. And, so just giving myself a little pat. I mean, what I really liked and why I wanted to have Dustin come on is because, of his own personal experience and his mindset. Learn those lessons now. And then that kind of goes into what I'm saying here, Dustin. So let me just read these, because there's Big Vis has a kind of a little bit of a story, and then Gene does too. But I'm going to read these because I think that'll set you up for that continuation of what you just said and talking, and maybe just helping answer these questions and giving some people some more, hey, this is just how I did it, and this was what worked for me, because you already said that with like the lunges. So what's worked for me was really focusing on a lot of stretching. So, something like that. So let's kind of just read everybody's comments here real quickly. So Big Visk has 3 comments. I'm just going to read them in case you can't see the words, and in case anyone else is just listening. So Big Visk, that gradual encroachment on the lumbar spine. I had some back pain for a while as well, lifting and hiking a lot. Just thought it was fine. Wife had a 26-hour labor for our firstborn. I slept in the hospital after delivery in one of those beds, and when I woke up, I couldn't get up, with a smiley face. Took them a while to get someone in to see me into a wheelchair, get an MRI, and showed it. They were talking, and then the MRI, then they saw the MRI. Then these docs were talking about surgery right away, but said it might not solve half the problem, was debilitating pain and radiculopathy, and surgery would fix one, but not both. Instead, had a series of injections. And then finally, kind of on that, and PT. So he did a series of injections, the cortisone, I'm assuming cortisone, Big Fisk, and then PT. And after a while, I recovered. Got to remember to do exercises and stretches. That's what's really working for me. Still, though, because if I don't, I notice soreness, tightness in the back. And this is over 12 years later. And then he says, sorry for the story. No, that's actually what we're here for, my good man. And then just to add to that, to Big Visk's story. So that's one thing I want you to kind of think of there, Dustin. And then Gene is saying back pain is a giant killer. My judo, jujitsu, and gym workouts are out the window for him now. He's got 4 crumbled discs, sciatica, and piriformis syndrome. So now just hiking, etc. I'm saying, I think he's saying that just hurts too. Damn, getting old is bad. All right. So right there, those are 2 good examples, Dustin, if you want to like address those, like maybe head on, talk about some of the mental games to help, like, okay, yeah, so maybe you can't do this anymore. Like I could throw a 100-pound ruck on my back, but I'm not hiking 20 miles with that, like that is kind of over for me, but now to your point, never say never, maybe I can work back up to that level. And that's kind of what I think we just got there a little bit from both Big Visk's story and Gene's story, or maybe it's just the mental resiliency that, you know, in these environments or these situations that you'd like to talk about.
Yeah. I think a big part of it was also like finding the right resources that actually gave good solutions. Because I mean, initially when I went to just a regular doctor, I was told, here's some muscle relaxers, and then don't ever swing kettlebells. Those are dangerous. Um, and right then and there, I knew that wasn't the right resource I needed to. And I guess it's hard, you know, to know like everybody's conditions, but the one, if I could plug one resource that has, I mean, changed my world and it's changed a bunch of my friends' world, is the book The Back Mechanic by Dr. Stuart McGill. It's
Hang on.
yeah,
Dustin, hang on. You broke up there
yeah.
just a second. So say it again, and then I'll even type it out so people can see it as a comment. So say it one more time so we can hear you.
Yeah, so the number one resource I'd recommend is checking out the Back Mechanic book by Dr. Stuart McGill. He's retired now, but he was one of the world's foremost fun experts out of Canada. But he worked with athletes in every single Olympic domain to MMA fighters and world-setting powerlifters. And his book, The Back Mechanic, is for the layman. So idiots like you and I could actually understand it. He just lays out the ability to understand, okay, what movement patterns are causing your issues, and then how do you kind of address that. And it's just been a great resource, like I said, not just for myself, but also a bunch of my friends. And the fact that now, 10 years later, despite the lifting that I still do and all the jiu-jitsu, and I spend a lot of time going upside down in jiu-jitsu, and I have not had a back injury. Part of that's due to learning where I needed what things I can't really do a whole lot that would continue to aggravate it, and certain load management. But collectively, I haven't had any issues, and so it's been such a fantastic resource that anybody that I hear that has back pain, pointing to that. He's got tons of good podcasts and interviews on YouTube and different podcasts. So definitely recommend people check that out.
All right. So I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I have it up right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it. Hey, and then just one thing on your audio. So when you kind of lean back and go to your right, it is really, like that. It gets really silent. But when you're being more direct, then we can hear you perfect. Well, and anyone else chime in from the live, but that's on my side. So that's why I've had to unfortunately ask you once or twice to say it again. But so here's the book that Dustin is recommending. You know, if you've got back issues or if you're kind of concerned, or maybe you got a friend. And again, we're not doctors. I mean, this guy's a doctor, Stuart McGill. We're not doctors. Dustin's just basically saying, hey, this book and what this guy's pushing really worked for me. And I think that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have Dustin on, because he's gone through, just as debilitating, maybe even worse, depending on, everybody's different, right? And then, to Big Visk's story or even Gene's story. So all these injuries affect each and every one of us differently, but it's that don't give up mindset, that never quit mindset, like you are more resilient than you think you are. Right. And so to Dustin's point, and I'll just do one anecdote. Well, not even anecdotal. It's my story, but it anecdotally goes into what Dustin's talking about. And then I'll turn it back over to Dustin. The VA just wanted to give me drugs, physical therapy was kind of bullshit. Like, hey, I can't walk. I'm confined right now. Well, we'll give you 1 week of PT in your house and then you're kind of on your own. I'm like, man, this, and I couldn't get pool therapy or water therapy or that. So I don't know if that's anything you encountered, Dustin, but really what I really wish I would have had was more of that physical therapist or that actual doctor, or if I could have been more in touch with the civilian doctors who did the surgery, to have had more of this, like, hey, dude, you got to be stretching every day, and I know you don't want to do it. And you're thinking, oh, I'm finally get out there and start doing stuff. I mean, my hips are my hips, right? And all that stuff is kind of, correlated, and it's kind of all in there together. But I think the resiliency, the mindset there, is to me the main thing that I really think that you bring to the table in spades. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, regardless of what we can do, it just comes down to finding those little ways that we can continue to move. As I like to say in the field, movement is medicine, and the more we can move, the better we'll feel. It can be hard though, hopefully battling through. How many people we know, like, oh, my shoulders are bad, I can't do this, my back's bad, I can't do this, this is bad, that's bad, and then they just don't do anything. And it's kind of like the opposite of what we do in jiu-jitsu. We get put in bad positions all the time, and learning how to stay calm, learning how to problem solve, learn how to do what you can do, even if it's just a little bit at a time. So a little bit at a time over time adds up. And I think had I just accepted the initial, like, I'm done, I wouldn't be where I am today. And my life would probably be a miserable mess. Instead, I get to show up, run gym, get to teach class, hang out with friends, and choke them out. And who doesn't want to choke them out with friends?
Yeah, and I don't know if there's one in the background there who's looking at you because you got a class coming up, but that may have been a little foreshadowing for what's going to happen to your students tonight. Like, I don't know what that was, but hey, Big Vis just kind of adding back to your commentary. He doesn't remember what the injection was, some sort of steroid, he assumes, and I would assume too. Usually what you're getting there is steroids, right? Said it was brutal, and he wasn't even able to lift his newborn kid for a while. Then excuse me, I already have that up there. That's the book that Dustin is recommending. If anyone is experiencing these kind of back injuries and you think it's all over, give this a look. Then we got Gene adding in. He's saying thank you, Dustin, for making the recommendation on the book. He's going to check it out. So that's pretty cool. And then we've got VTech Moonwalker coming in. Finally caught part of one of these. LOL. Hey, Mark. Hey, how you doing, sir? Thanks for making a live. We got Dusty here. We're talking about resilience. It's kind of focusing a little bit on both the physical motion, but the mental drive to keep the physical motion going so you can help overcome, if you're like, whether you've lived a really active lifestyle, you're getting older and that active lifestyle is catching up to you, or it's just, genetic and it's just life and shit breaks, right? Because that's how it goes. So Dustin, so on that right there, so we were kind of just talking about the back, keeping the movement going, again, and I love that. You're taking on, and that's why I've got, one of the things, movement matters. That was, if you remember way back in the day, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. So moving is in that. But one of the originals was movement matters. And that had a lot to do with camouflage. It had a lot to do with your fighting techniques and what you're doing, how you're moving is important. Do you want to maybe take the jujitsu side of it and talk about how, is that kind of helping you with your resiliency and overcoming it? Or was it just like, the book and then really kind of focusing on the PT, the physical therapy side? Or like what other little aspects or gems can you give us that might help somebody better overcome, whether they've got a problem right now, or if it's, you're starting to feel like, my hips are going to go, my back's going to go. Another tool in their toolbox or some ammo that they can take with them and like preventative medicine, so to speak, on a mental and physical side.
I think one of the biggest helps during that time that I still do today was from McGill, this idea of our everyday movement. And actually, you could quote Musashi, your
just slow down right there.
Stance is your everyday stance is your fighting stance.
Just real quickly, sorry to do it over you, but Musashi, he's talking about Musashi Miyamoto. You want to you're just throwing a name out there and not everybody might know who that is, right? So yeah, bring everybody up to speed.
So yeah, Musashi Miyamoto, the great samurai, warrior / philosopher, but his quote of your everyday stance is your fighting stance. Just what you do should translate. And that was a big takeaway from McGill stuff, was how are you moving in the little things? Because most people, they throw on a heavy 300-pound back squat. You're thinking about all the little details, how you move, as soon as you go to pick up a pencil from the floor, you don't think about the movement pattern you do. You just bend over. And in the end, ultimately, a lot of back issues are caused because of just the repetitive nature within the lumbar system, slowly working the annulus apart, and then the little jelly center pops through. And it's usually because of picking up the pencil every day without thinking. You're putting your lumbar in flexion. And so that idea of how am I moving in my day-to-day activities, and can I clean that up? Can I make that better? And over time, that keeps the whole system clean. It flosses the system, as they say. And so that's probably the biggest piece of advice is just, okay, how am I moving today? And how can I make it better? And can I bend over correctly versus just putting a bunch of lumbar flexion through my spine.
All right on. Here we go. Give me a sec. I'm pretty sure this is the one you're referencing to, just in case anyone's interested. I apologize for my, Japanese to English spelling. I know the book is called Go-Rin No Show. I may have spelled it incorrectly, but it's the Book of Five Rings by Musashi. That's what you're referencing, correct, Dusty?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Hey, if you don't mind, can you just say that whole thing again and extrapolate? Because what a great comment, right? And so there's mindset, right? You're taking in other philosophies, other perspectives, whether it's martial in nature, and again, whether, you're rolling on the mat, jujitsu, you're doing MMA, you're in the military, you're practicing fencing, whatever, you're doing archery, whatever it is. So it's martial in nature, but there's so much of a philosophical, and part of that philosophical is, again, that well-being, both mental, physical, spiritual. Do you want to maybe add a little bit more to that? Because I love that direction. I love that, your fighting stance is your everyday stance. That's kind of, an ancient way of saying the modern version, which is train as you fight, fight as you train. I mean, kind of, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I said, for me, the biggest thing was realizing like what I do every day, how I move every day, shouldn't differ quality wise from when I'm fighting or when I'm lifting. That good movement is good movement regardless. Just in the end, it helps. And I guess maybe it comes back to just being the idea of being mindful of what you're doing, and really regardless of what it is.
And I think in one of our other conversations, that mindfulness is also part of that resiliency, right? Mindfulness. Hey, I'm broken right now. I'm not going to try to lift 300 pounds in my first deadlift, 3 months. Like when I had my hip surgery, they were like, and don't be reaching out to me and asking me to play golf 2 months later. It was 2 months later. I'm like, who in the F is asking to play golf? Not this guy. I'm still I think I was still in my little 4-tiered little, old man pusher cart, or maybe maybe I had moved up to my cane at that point in time, but I was like, there's no way I'm playing golf. But what I like about what you just said there, though, is, but even at that time, I was being very conscious, like, dude, you got to start moving. You got to just, stretch this out, okay, a little bit, shway, a little bit here, a little bit there, and then, okay, you're getting some resistance, or that's starting to hurt. So I think that's twofold, right? It's that one mind, one spirit, one body type of, kind of mentality. You want to add a little bit to that, and kind of, because, resiliency isn't being just I don't think, well, you tell me what you think. I don't think resiliency means you're just a badass mofo. Yeah, it's not resiliency. You could be that guy, but you could be the most brittle emotionally or physically or psychologically speaking, and the moment you're met with adversity, do you just give up and quit? I mean, that's not being resilient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just an FYI, I'll probably have to take off here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Get class going here. But yeah, to touch upon that last thought, like just being resilient is not always doing the glamorous thing. It's not always doing super hard things. Sometimes it's just doing.
Hey, Dustin, start that all over. I think what the real issue is, when you get very philosophical and you're talking so low that their mic isn't picking it up. So can you start that again?
Yeah.
There you go.
No, I think it's not about doing the like the super hard or super difficult things. In some ways, that's the easy part. It's doing the small things every single day. Like for example, with my back injury, part of what I had to do and still do was certain core work to get my core strength up. And that required 10, 15 minutes a day. And it wasn't that hard, but I had to do it every single day. And a lot of those little things. And I think that's where the true resiliency comes in, is that when you do have to change, find those little things that need to be done over and over and over, and don't yield the big results right away. Over a period of time, they do. And if you do that, that's where you'll find the true success.
Yeah, even if you're just digging a hole one spoon at a time, every spoonful is one step closer to your objective. Hey, I know you got to bounce. Is this a great? I mean, this is totally. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Do you maybe want to have one of your students or somebody step up behind you and you just tap them out for us real quickly, or is that too much?
Michael, I took you out. I'm going to give a quick I'm going to give a quick demonstration on how to RNC someone properly.
Well, hey,
with one of my favorite students to choke out.
Hey, tell everybody what RNC means, please.
All right, so the rear naked choke, or if you want to get Brazilian with it, the Monte Leon, the lion choke. So this is for OnlyFans. This is my OnlyFans account. So what we got here is anytime we want to go for the rear naked choke, and anytime you want to choke somebody, you always want to think about getting your carotid, the two carotids occluded, and having some form of backstab. So in this case, throwing that arm around. What we're trying to look to do is make sure we have those carotids occluded. Gun head, grabbing my large trap, the head, my trap, my own bicep, and then we're going to think about not pulling up. A lot of people make the mistake and trying to pull up, pop it off like a dandelion. Instead, we want to think about squeezing our elbows together and then pulling with our lats, pull down into, kind of down, and in this case, down to the right. We're just sucking those elbows into our lats. We're pulling the person with their legs.
There it is. Perfect. Hey, and what's your hey, thanks for the demonstrator there. We love it. That was awesome. What's his name? He's like, that ain't going to happen later tonight. Hey, I know you got to bounce. You got your students, but we got a couple real just quick comments for you, and then we'll take off here on your side. Tennessee, just kind of throwing out what everybody should know, and your doctor will point this out. I mean, there is some risks with the steroid use, and after a while, that tissue is destroyed. And she's saying, after all, it's not the age, it's the mileage. But then to your point, she's like, hey, love the book. Thank you. So see, people have already looked up the book. And then right there, Snowshoe Dave just said, ordered the book for my wife. So thank you so very much, Dustin. Really appreciate it. Any final comments from your side before you pop out there, sir? And before you start tapping people out?
Not a whole lot of comments other than if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can check it on Facebook or Instagram. Just look up Stranger Jiu-Jitsu. If anybody has any talk more about back injury stuff, I'd love to talk about that. It's definitely a very passionate subject I like talking about, and jiu-jitsu.
Right on. All right, sir. I think I'm gonna keep things going, but unless you got anything else, because I know you got to bounce. Again, really just thanks, hats off. Thanks for making it, tucking it in there with your busy schedule. Really appreciate it. You already got one person saying, thank you for this one. Is there a sequel? Well, maybe we can, Dustin and I will talk about this. Maybe there will be a little sequel going on. Maybe you'll watch him tap my fat ass out, the next time in his dojo. So, all right, Dusty, really, thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. And you guys and your students have a great night. All right.
You too. Look forward to next time.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
All right. Later, Mark.
All right. Later, man. Take care. All right, everybody. All right. That was Dustin. Great guy. Connection. I think it was maybe just a little bit of the mic, but it is technology, as we've said before. Hey, kind of final comments or closing comments here on my side. Thursday's live stream. I said at the beginning of tonight, I'll say it again, just to kind of, in conclusion, we'll have at least a couple of the guys from Readiness Training Group. Checks already been mailed out to them. Just, huge thanks to everybody for stepping up and helping out with the charity auction. I already read off everybody's numbers at the very beginning of this live stream. So go back and if you didn't see that, go back and just watch the beginning. And I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably call everybody tomorrow personally and just let everybody know what their numbers are and what time we're going to do the live stream and the drawing, because Evan's knife is ready to go and he'll drop ship that, but all the stuff on my side, we've got it plugged into the work order process, but I got to work with you and I got to coordinate what your color and your patterns and all that is going to be. So that'll take just a little bit there. All right. And just as always, let me just kind of just go over some comments here. Well, that's what we just said. Tennessee asking if there's a sequel, come back. Great stuff. Yeah, thanks Tennessee for the comments there, much appreciated. Gene from across the pond, damn, what a great guy, would have loved to train with him. Hey, and you may not have seen it, he's a big dude, I'm telling you. Just even the training we did, it's like, oh bam, that even that kick would have rocked my world, so like, yeah, he's a big dude, ain't no doubt, he's a big dude, but don't quit. I think that kind of wraps it up a little bit early tonight. No harm, no foul, Mafi Mushkila. So anybody got any other final comments or whatnot? Otherwise, we're going to have a really fun time on Thursday. It'll probably be a shorter live stream as well, but the focus of the live stream is the drawing and having fun and saying thanks to everybody. And I think those guys are going to be having a couple beers over on their side. They're still trying to figure out the bar thing. They might have another option. So they might even just be in a bar, and woo-woo and celebrating and everything. So that's pretty cool. So again, huge shout out to everybody. Really appreciate it. That was just kick ass and awesome. Raised $500 for those men and women. They're doing, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're trying to take their skills, their experiences, their time, the training they've received, and they're trying to pass it on to other men and women who are, quite honestly, depending, you could maybe argue teachers are the first line of defense, but in the school system, these are the school resource officers, the men and women who are, entrusted to actually, try to provide some semblance of safety and security in our schools. And unfortunately, that just seems to be, a freaking disease that's ripped through our Western culture, recently. But and then we got here, Gene just said something. Drink for him on his Thursday. Gene, are you saying you're going to be? Are you already drunk, Gene? Drink for my on Thursday. Hey, Gene's already getting ahead of Thursday. God bless you, Gene. That's awesome. Woo! All right, everybody. I think we'll wrap it up right there. You know the deal. Sorry. And the day's not even over. I got to go cut belts now. All right. Hey, very much appreciate it. Thank you, everybody for the charity auction. Thanks for being here tonight. Thursday will be the announcement of the charity auction. And then that following Monday, before we go into 4th of July weekend, my friend from Blake from Fog Firearms is going to be on, and we're going to kind of give a little bit more detail on what we've been trying to do to set up this larger compendium, this consortium, this ability, this area where you can maybe go and, get some additional training or have some other resources, or we're doing some of this training, like quite seriously, maybe we're down at the dojo and we're doing a little class on just some, the 3 fundamentals of ground fighting. I'm just making that up. You see where I'm going. So stay tuned. We'll have more information about that. And more importantly, about community, because, again, I think with everything that's transpiring right now and what's going on in the world, if you don't have a community, you're kind of like that, you need to start striking out and finding one and making one and creating one. And you can't do it by yourself. Ain't no one getting out alive. You need teamwork. You need community. You need friends and family. So, I'll save that for Thursday or Monday. I was already starting to get a little deep, and I want to get deep because that was a fun podcast. So thanks to everybody for being here tonight. Dusty and his crew for, in the dojo for being here. As always, if you've got questions, comments. Oh, and then I didn't see him pop up, but Ground Fog, I still got your 2 ice cards, your information, in case of emergency cards. And I've never received an email from you with your address. And I don't know what's going on, but email's been acting a little funky too. There's been a couple people like, no, I sent you a video, and then never received it. So, so on that note, Ground Fog, I think we touched based on Instagram. So, if that email doesn't work, then just shoot me your info on Instagram and a direct message, and I'll drop them in the mail for you. All right. I think that's it, everybody. That's what I got for tonight. Thank you very much. Reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Until then, get ready. Here it comes. Keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. All right, everybody, be good. Woo! We'll see you next time.